Alright, so I've been living with the Deepal S07 for a few days now. Drove it around town, poked every button, played with the settings, and basically did everything except for sleeping in it. And I gotta say, this car is full of surprises. Some good, some a little annoying, and some just plain weird. So let's talk about what stood out to me, from the design to how it drives to whether or not this thing is really a serious Model Y competitor. First off, the looks. It's a bit subjective, of course, but personally, I think the Deepal S07, it's a stunner. The design feels clean, modern, and even sporty in some way that doesn't scream trying too hard. There's also a slight resemblance to the MGs. Now, this color isn't necessarily my favorite. It's kinda just there, but the good news, Deepal actually offers a decent range of colors, so you're not necessarily stuck with neon green if it's not your thing. Inside, it's got major Tesla vibes, from the gear stalks to the steering wheel to the super minimal layout. It's very Model Y at the first glance, but if when you spend some time in it, you'll notice it's actually more refined. The materials feel nicer, and the overall design feels less like a science project, and I would say more like an actual finished product. And the Sony audio system, very solid. I wish they could have kept the Sony branding, but what really caught me off guard was, interestingly enough, the radio reception. So most Android-based systems, when you get into the basement, it cuts out immediately. But for the Deepal, it just keeps going. So I can't believe I'm actually commenting on radios in 2025, but I was genuinely impressed. I haven't heard smooth radio like that actually in a while. The rear seats are also super comfy and plush, and there's decent space. But having said that, there's this quirky little armrest in the back that folds in a unique way. Not necessarily game-changing, but hey, it's different. Oh, by the way, side note, no rear dome lights, so it does get a little bit dark here in the night. Now, onto storage. From the outside, the Deepal doesn't look that big. In fact, the side-by-side comparison with something like the Xpeng G6, it looks slightly more compact. But when you pull up the spec sheet, it's actually a carbon copy of the Tesla Model Y. Length, width, height, pretty much in the same ballpark, but not the same car by any means. From boot space perspective, generous, I would say. Definitely enough for your grocery runs, your strollers, long holidays with multiple suitcases. But having said that, there is actually no underfloor storage or sub-trunk storage in the back though. But the frunk, wow. One of the biggest frunk I've seen in any SUVs or any EVs. It's even bigger than the Model Ys, and that's saying something. You could legit store more than just, a normal cabin-size check-in luggage. You can store a whole lot of groceries and much more. But having said that, I actually have a quick rant. The key fob. It looks futuristic, but man, it's super plasticky. Almost like a toy, and not a sturdy one for that matter. It'd probably survive a little light use, but I wouldn't trust it with drops or rough handling. Look at this key fob. You already have paint chipping off. And yes, you can still unlock with your phone, but the fob is still the backup typically, and it should be made a little bit more tougher to survive those accidental drops. Anyway, I'm not going to go full on with the interior and exterior walkthrough here. There's a tons of videos out there already that talks about that, but let's move on to what really matters, the driving. So driving this thing is actually pleasant. It's smooth, it's easy to manage, and doesn't feel very intimidating. Now, the suspension though, it's firm. Not bone-jarring firm, but if you're expecting plush, floaty comfort, a bit like the Sealion 7 or Xpeng G6, unfortunately you won't get it here. Feels more like a sporty sedan than an SUV, which could be a plus if you prefer that connected to the road kind of feel. Handling is sharp, very responsive, very little body roll, and the corners feel relatively tight and predictable. While it's marketed as an compact SUV or kind of mid-sized SUV, it actually rides much slower, and it feels a lot more like a sedan than an SUV. So there are a couple of drive modes. The usual suspect, the drive modes are comfort, sport, eco, but what's cool is that there is actually a customized drive mode option with the Deepal. You can tweak regen levels, steering feel, throttle response, and all that good nerdy stuff. If you're curious, you can actually check out my other video on the software stack, and I go into a little bit more details of how you can actually customize your, your driver profile, so to speak. I think that's pretty damn unique to the Deepals. But I did notice one bug though with this particular one that I, have on loan. It keeps resetting back to eco mode. I can set it to comfort or custom, but some reason it just goes back to eco mode every single time. So not too sure if it's just my unit or a software thing, but if in any case, I hope it gets patched. Another miss, no auto parking. So in China, this same car actually comes with auto park and the sensors are already built in. So it's literally just a software limitation. That's really just unnecessary. At this price point and in 2025, it really should be table stakes. And I'm not just calling out Deepal, but every single car maker here. Auto parking has been there for more than a decade. It should just be standard. Also, another small annoyance, when you signal at low speed, the camera pops up and takes over pretty much 80% of the screen. I get why it's helpful, but sometimes, I just want to see my map or, control my music. Charging speeds. Let's break it down. AC charging is 11 kilowatts, which is pretty good when most of the competition offer only 7 kilowatts. DC fast charging though peaks at 92 kilowatt. Not slow, but not blazing fast. So with a 79 kilowatt hour battery, it's typically okay for daily use and driving. But if you are planning a long distance trip or trip to Malaysia, just know you're not going to get like Tesla supercharger speeds or Sealion or even Xpeng G6 type speeds, because the Xpeng and Sealion 7 goes up to 150 kilowatt charging, so they will charge significantly faster. Not a deal breaker, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. Now let's talk intelligent cruise control and adaptive cruise, because this part genuinely surprised me. It's smooth, and when I say smooth, it's really smooth, especially when cut-in happens. So in Singapore, you typically get motorcycles riding in between the lines, between cars, and at the very last minute, maybe slightly swerve in lane or last minute cut-ins. Most ICC struggles, but Deepal handles it like a pro. No sudden braking, no awkward jerks. Steering is super smooth, no overcompensation, very human-like in any way. When compared with the BYD system, this feels like a massive step up. The controls are intuitive too. One swipe down for ACC and double swipe down for ICC. Easy to remember, easy to use. Now, when you signal to change lanes, the ICC disengages for a bit and there is a noticeable delay before it comes back online. Not a big deal, but noticeable. This definitely could be better. And the HUD, not too sure if I mentioned it, it's awesome. It shows a tracking graphic of the car ahead. I'm not too sure how best to show you the video for this without getting in trouble using a phone while driving and videoing it, but I really like it. It gives you the confidence that the system knows what it's actually doing. The animations are clean, super readable, and again, I want to mention, it feels very huge compared to what I'm used to. Now, the ADAS though, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Out of the box, the system is very chatty. Lots of beeping, a lot of dinging, and I'll admit it's borderline annoying at first. But after digging through the menus and tweaking the sensitivity, it calms down a little bit. It's actually become quite usable. And to be honest, it's pretty subtle in most cases. Still, sometimes you hear a beep and have no clue what triggered it. Probably because there's no instrument cluster. It's all on the HUD and infotainment, and when you want to kind of turn and look, what the error is or what the alert is, there's just too much happening on the infotainment that you will most likely miss the alert anyway. And one major gripe, the settings don't save. Every time you restart the car, it resets all the tweaks and knobs that you have turned to default. So if you spend 5 minutes setting it up the way you like it, yeah, do it again next time. So super frustrating, so I guess that's what a lot of reviewers might be complaining about as well. Lane keep assist is also a little bit aggressive, and thankfully you can turn it off. But again, the setting doesn't persist through car restarts. Now let's talk about software. The UI is actually beautiful. Very clean, very intuitive, but don't expect a full app store. So there's no YouTube, no Spotify, no Netflix, and it's pretty locked down. Entertainment is basically limited to radio, Bluetooth, and whatever music you have on your phone. So if you're thinking, you want to stop and relax, watch something while you wait for your kids, yeah, that's not happening on the Deepal. But it's got some fun stuff too. Built-in dash cam. Like, this should be a default for every car. Don't you agree? I love it. You know, it's there, built-in, stock standard with the car. Internally, there is also a selfie cam. Unexpected, but useful. Great for checking on your kids or pets if you leave them in a car for a few minutes, and if you ask me, a great party trick. And there is the scenes feature. Super cool. It's like a preset for different situations. Camp mode, pet mode, kids mode, nap mode. It tweaks the AC, lights, screen, and gives you a peace of mind depending on what you are using the car for. If you want to know more about this feature, I've also detailed it in my deep dive video on the software console in my other video. And yes, it's got some Tesla style gimmicks. There's a light show, music through external speakers, fun for a good laugh, you know, maybe once in a while. And if you're wondering where the trip meter and odometer lives, because there is an instrument cluster, it actually sits on an obscure corner by the entertainment screen. Not my favorite, but yeah, small gripe, and worth noting as well. Frankly, I feel there's so much upside to the software stack, and I've seen some video on the OS version 3 for the S07, and it showed marked improvements. So I'm actually very super excited for this car. So, after spending some proper time and a couple of 100 kilometers with the Deepal S07, here's where I landed. So what do I love about the car? It's great styling and design, inside and out. It drives extremely well, sharp, confident, solid road feel, and the thoughtful and solid, you know, software touches like dash cams, HUD, scenes, and everything that goes with it. Having said that, what actually needs work? The ADAS system is way too sensitive out of the box. And you know, the fact that it needs to reset every time to factory default, yeah, you know, that needs to be fixed, unfortunately. I know there's regulations around this, unfortunately, but yeah, you know, there has to be some leeway with the driver. Suspension is a little bit firm, not ideal for those who want a luxury SUV ride type comfort. And charging speed could be better. And yes, the fob. Yeah, do better, Deepal. That key fob needs an improvement. But overall, it's a very serious contender in this space. And if you're comparing this to a Model Y, Sealion 7, or Xpeng G6, the Deepal 07 hold its own. So that's it from me. If you got questions about the Deepal, drop a comment. But meanwhile, smash that like, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.